Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast, your weekly dose of many discussions and opinions, a show where we get comfortable being uncomfortable. And remember, no topic is off limits. Now let's talk about it. Yes, guys, God did, y'all. Welcome back, guys, to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Miss D, and it's good to be back. So this is going to be a week with a small dose of a Solita episode, because if you guys follow me on social media, you know that for, what was it, like a total of almost 2 weeks, essentially, right? Like a week and a half. No, y'all, it was like really like a week, but it felt like forever. Okay, so I was away on business, and then it led right into my family vacation. The reason why we're kicking this off with God did is because, y'all, it don't matter what plan you have, and we know this, it's always God's plan. Like, and I learned it real heavy. And when I say real heavy, I mean heavy, like heavy. It was not a good feeling to be in the situation that I was in. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed my overall business/vacation trips. I visited a city for the first time. Shout out to Chi-Town. It was fantastic. It was great. The sightseeing. I definitely checked off a few things off my bucket list. Did not get to check off one little thing, but all the more excuse to go back. But again, shout out to Chi-Town. And then I went right into H-Town. And that one was a thrill. I've definitely been there before. Shout out to my family out there. It was great to see people after so many years whom I absolutely adore. Plenty of them are my amazing cousins, and it was just a great time. It was just so amazing to have that moment. And you know, the reality is I had this whole thing planned out. I had this whole thing schedule driven, like plan, you know, and it wasn't like a tight schedule, but it was a little bit. The goal was to come back the evening before, right, to my home, New York City, after my business trip was done, and basically like shower, change, go drop off the dirty clothes at the laundromat because it's 24/7, and just get on the next flight in a couple of hours. And that never happened. It did not happen that way. I ended up having to completely reroute my life. We're talking some alleged weather issues in New York City. The day I was supposed to come back, flights were being canceled. Tremendous delays. Unfortunately, my flight was not delayed, but canceled. Delayed for several hours and then finally canceled. There was no accommodations, but shout out to American Airlines for coming through with my grievance. If you know me and you know my career, you know your girl comes through with a grievance, and they did some serious service recovery, and I can only appreciate that, right? And but I had to dig a little deeper into my pockets to accommodate myself, to accommodate my needs, so I could fly out the next day and not necessarily come home and then have to reroute directly over to Texas. Now, some of you may say, well, D, why the fuck didn't you just do that from the beginning? Well, because when it's a business trip, y'all, there's certain rules that come with that. Luckily, it's still going to work out, thank God. But there are certain rules that come with that. When you are traveling on business and with reimbursements and with arrangements being done for you up front, those things are out of your control, right? And so this was definitely like a test and a challenge for me to have to figure out, you know, not just plan A, because I'm not going to lie to y'all. I did not, for the first time in my life, figure out no plan B, C, or D. I only had plan A. That was it. What was crazy about it though, when I travel, and if it's not going to be such a long trip, right? I like to strategize when I travel when it comes to my credit cards, debit card, cash, you name it. I like to strategize with it. I don't like to just carry everything with me because God forbid my wallet gets lost, right? So I have like, I carry obviously my driver's license with me if, it needs to go with me, but I have my New York State ID, right? So something always stays home and something always comes with me. And this time around, I don't know what came over me. Something just said, Daisy, take extra. No, I did not lose my wallet. Thank you, Jesus. I did not. But the idea that I just felt like I had to take extra with me, that I had to carry something in addition to what I already had with me for us, the smallest fucking business trip in the fucking world, y'all. I wasn't going that far. Like, it wasn't like, I don't know what it was, but something just said to do it and I did it. And thank God that I did, because when I had to come up with a plan B and a plan C, y'all, everything came through for me in real time. So God did. He also gave us our intuition, y'all. So trust your gut feelings, trust your intuition, trust yourselves. When you feel like something just tells you, do this, just follow it, right? Now, let me explain why I went all the way to plan C. Because plan B was essentially me having to do a certain level of strategizing and planning, like kind of like behind the scenes, and making myself available, and most importantly having to come up with short-term solutions, short-term fixes, I should call them. It's long-term solutions to another issue that was going on. And the reason why I want to share this a little bit with you guys is because I really want you guys to understand the fundamental lessons and what this fucking week looked like for me. Okay. I really want you guys to understand it and to take what you can from it, and to just know that it's in those little moments that many things can happen. 1, you can make the best memories. 2, you can feel the deepest of emotions. 3, you can have the greatest eye-opening moment. 4, you can learn the most valuable lessons. And 5, you can shed your most heaviest tears. Okay. And maybe there's even more shit that could happen, but those are the 5 I'm gonna give you right now. Anyway, it felt like in this moment, I was definitely in the mix of those 5 things. Plan B was essentially a redesign in that moment in real time to what I had planned out, to what was on my schedule, because my father ended up pretty sick and ended up hospitalized. I was on business while this was happening. My other brother was also on his vacation, and my older siblings were home. I'm taking a deep breath here. My dad is fine, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. He's still my strong as fuck, grumpy as fuck man, my dad. But I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it took a lot out of me to feel like, not that I can't trust my siblings, I know I could fucking trust them. It just, the control freak that I am in the industry that I have my career, which is healthcare, had a real issue with how I was looking at things and the things that I was seeing and the things that I was hoping for would work out for my dad. These are COVID times. Admissions are still being done and monitored, like as if we are still taking precaution. And so, sure, there's visitation, but there's still limitations in a lot of places. It's the fact that at the end of the day, and this is my first time speaking of this, I don't even think I spoke about this with my siblings. I know times have changed. I know there has been improvements overall compared to many years ago, but the professional in me that knows the many things that can still not go right, I'm not saying can go wrong, but not go right, was worried about her elderly Spanish speaking Latino brown skin father being hospitalized and not having his family there to advocate, especially the ones who are in healthcare, right? It was us having to coordinate as siblings, keeping each other informed, communicating effectively, speaking with physicians from whatever city we were in, okay, making ourselves available, conducting follow-ups, planning who's going to be there for discharge, who's going to be the next person to take over if some of us are on flights, right? It was the part of, do we make the decision to cancel our family vacation? It was the part that I was really tested with, in having to let go of what I realize now is a lot of control that I felt I should say that I've always essentially had and didn't realize I always felt I needed to have. And that shit was a lot, y'all. It was like a lot. It was a lot to re-strategize, plan it all over again, reevaluate, revamp. It was so much to have to go back and forth, making sure we haven't missed any piece of information. It was the part where, from wherever I was at any given moment, making sure I was setting up my mom's Ubers. Again, all of us are doing our part. All the siblings are. Y'all, I fight with these mofos all the fucking time. Half the time I don't fucking like them. I'm lying. I fucking love them, but I don't really like them all the time. But we did our shit. We did our thing, y'all. Like, we really did it, and I'm very proud of us and the way we did it. And a huge shout out to my older brother for telling us, all of us, none of us needed to cut our trip short. None of us needed to cancel our family vacations. He said, I got this, and he got it under control. It was the part where I realized all of my responsibilities, and it was the part where I had to come to terms that I had to do my best to meet what I believed were all my responsibilities from wherever the fuck I was. It was the part where I essentially did not have time to sit there and sulk in my anger, my frustration, or my sadness, or my worries. It was the part where I had to just put my thinking cap on and say, what would clear-headed Daisy do? And I had to come up with a plan. There was some stress. There was a lot of frustration. There was what felt like a lot of pressure. And again, shout out to my siblings for coming through, just a collective. And we were able to fucking make it, y'all. Like I said, I enjoyed the business trip. It was great. I still was able to make time to check off a few items off my bucket list, which I'm so happy I did. And extremely happy I was able to have that family vacation in heat and sun and water and drinks and family and laughter. And y'all, I went to the Bad Bunny concert. That shit was lit as fuck. But let me just say this, that was a whole other fucking H-Town journey. And yet again, another moment where I just felt so much pressure. So let me give y'all a little insight of what happened there too. Good seats, great fucking seats. And of course, it would be my fucking luck. Here I am, responsible for two teenage young men, my nephews, who wanted to go see him. So I go with them. My son, Bad Bunny's not his vibe, so whatever. And the couple next to us wants to get into a fight with the people in front of us. So now I'm in protective titi mode. And while these young men, my nephews, my babies, are like in the zone with this music, I'm trying to maneuver them to the side, protective of them, but we still enjoying the fucking show. And all I'm thinking in my head, if this shit happens a third fucking time, we're fucking leaving. Thank God it did not, and motherfuckers got kicked out, and I'm so happy about that shit, because I was just done with the whole fucking show. And I don't mean Bad Bunnies, I mean these mofos that were fighting. But when I tell you everything was tested for me during both trips, everything was tested for me. It gets better. That's not the end. I couldn't find a fucking Uber to go back home where we were staying in Houston. But because God said no. your family is going to be around there in the fucking area. It's one way or another, you're going to get the fuck home. And so my other cousin was in the area where we were. He was very busy with his commitments, but he made it one way or another very possible for us to find our fucking way, walking and walking and walking. When I tell you the streets of downtown Houston, late at fucking night, the things we fucking saw after a Bad Bunny concert, me with a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old. And all I'm thinking to myself is, God, please help me get these kids back home, because my sister's going to fuck me up if something happens to them. That's all I kept thinking to myself. My frustrations. I sure as hell yelled at my sister Patty. Why? Because I just had to. That's it. End of story. But it was just so much was tested for me. But God did. God did it. God said, I got a plan for you. So every fucking Uber was fucking canceling on us when we were finally in an area to get a damn Uber. And then we finally get an Uber, y'all. And so for those of you who have no idea what Houston, Texas is like, okay, you know, it's a pretty busy city, downtown Houston, but there is another city called Galveston, and Galveston is apparently an hour away in one specific direction. From where we were, he would have just been this driver 30 minutes away, I believe, from Galveston, right? Which is where he was essentially going to go home to. But because for some reason Uber said, I don't give a fuck what area you want to take people to, they just matched him up with us. He ended up having to take us home, which was essentially in the opposite direction, 30 plus minutes out. This man did not break this news to me until over midway through the ride, and he just laughed about it. He just laughed about it. He said, you know, he's gonna let Uber know what just happened, because he took us in the opposite direction 30 plus minutes out, now he had a whole hour and plus change back to Galveston, back to go home. This man was God sent. He was an angel from up above who brought us home safely. And I have to tell you guys, like, the whole week, with all that felt like constant tests and constant hiccups and you know, hurdle and oh, fuck, another change of plan. Oh, fuck, I got to do this. Oh, fuck, I got to do that. Like, it just constantly felt that way, and everything was feeling like so much just stress and frustration and unexpected bullshit, and just like having to sit down and take a deep breath and just gather myself. And all the while I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to have another panic attack, and I don't want to have another moment of anxiety, to the point, if y'all remember several episodes ago, Solita episodes ago, I shared with y'all that it felt like I was having a heart attack at one point, because of the workplace environment I was in, and because of what I knew then of how that felt. I was afraid that in that moment of all that pressure and frustration, in 1 week, the worrisome and the losing control of so much, that I would be feeling that sort of a panic attack again, that sort of anxiety. And I was very fearful of that. And I had to help myself work through that. I had to help myself manage that. And I'm so proud that I was able to do it. But most importantly, I truly and honestly, and y'all know I've tried my best to come back to my faith. And I'm not preaching here like I'm always in church on Sundays. I'm still not, y'all. But I am praying more. And I fucking sat there and I just said out at several points, God, please fucking help me. Please take the fucking wheel. Take the wheel here. Please get these pilots to get me home. Get my dad discharged. Find me an Uber. It was just me and God talking 24/7. You know, this isn't going to be like a preachy thing. That's not what this is. I always say, you know, having lost my faith at one point, but still believing in some form of universal highest power, whatever it is that you believe in, right? Whatever it is that you pray to and praise to and preach to and whatnot, whatever it is that gets you through it all. Lean into that person, lean into that force, and really leave it in that platform, in that space for things to work out, but continue so strongly with whatever it is that you believe in, and let that belief lead you in whatever it is you need to have faith in. I do not know how else I would have been able to make it through that week, to complete my tasks, to enjoy the meaning for each one of those trips, to be able to take in the information I took in, to learn. I don't know how I would have been able to enjoy any of those moments and make the best of it all, even through all my frustration and my fucking anger. But I don't know how I would have been able to do that if I did not keep my fucking faith, if I did not lean into what I continue to believe in, if I did not trust my intuition from the very beginning before takeoff to the first trip. It's a lesson. It's a lesson that I fucking learned. It's a lesson that stayed with me. I said I was going to share with y'all, and I had to share with y'all. Needless to say, it didn't all end there. Coming back home from Texas because I never made it to my flight from New York to Texas in the first place. Remember, I had to reroute myself. These motherfuckers at United decided to cancel the whole fucking thing because it was a round trip booking, which I still gotta file that grievance, because if you know your girl, like I said before, a bitch is gonna file a grievance, okay? But I had no flight. We came to realize the day before at the moment of check-in. And so when we go to check-in, somehow I got the notification. Mind you, I didn't book this shit. My sister did. I still get the notification, but my name is not on it. And I was like, oh, hell no. Now United is going to get a piece of my fucking mouth. So I call. They did their little whack-ass attempt to service recovery, which I still have to call to follow up on that shit. I waited for them to tell me what was going to be the final news, because she says somebody made some form of mistake. I, at this point, don't know what the fuck happened. I know my sister was trying to work things out with them since the Tuesday before that. Okay, a whole week before. But essentially, my seat was gone. And here I go back to American, who had already fucked up, and I had still not filed my grievance with them. And I kept a fucking seat in the cart. And I just waited to process the fucking purchase, and I processed it. And so shout out to American Airlines and my membership there and being a card holder, because that has really come through with a lot of the fucking perks and flexibility and availability. And so shout out to that. I had to come back home by my damn self. I had to come back home without the family. It's bad enough the family already went to Texas without me, carrying my big ass luggage. And so the only way I could give back in that moment to how my family pulled through for me from New York, meeting me in Texas while I was away in Chi-Town, was let me take the two biggest fucking luggages with me, right? I'll handle this shit. I'll deal with it. And so that was the little bit that I felt I can alleviate something, because essentially another thing that was happening in that moment, and again, it's not that I don't trust my family. That's not what it is, guys. I realized that I've been a control freak. I really had to leave in my sister's hands the responsibility and the pressures of having to ensure that my son makes it to the destination to meet his mama safely and sound. And shout out to her, and thank you to my sister, even though I'm kind of pissed at her right now, but whatever. That's still my sister Batty, for, of course, without a doubt, taking good care of my kid. But really showing me that it's okay to let go of certain things. And yeah, y'all, that whole week from August 27th to September 6th, that is all God's doing, y'all. And I am just grateful that I was able to live that. I was able to have it. I was able to learn from it. I was not gonna not share this with you guys. I needed to come on here in a Solita episode to let you guys know that in the end, things work out the way they're supposed to. That in the end, we don't always get the outcome that we want, but there is a resolution. That in the end, what is best meant to happen will happen, whether we like it or not. That sometimes there's going to be some form of a cost to it, and we're going to have to be tested even to fight for what's right. But there's still ways to still live. Life goes on. There's still ways to still enjoy the moments. There's still ways to figure it out, to balance, you know, the not so positive things in life and still find those positive lights. And I have to say, it's been a long ass fucking year. You guys know this. I've shared this with you guys. And that has to have been the most testing week of my life. And your girl's just happy to be home. This fucking New York City weather got me fucked up. What is going on in our city? I don't know. We could just pray that it gets better, hopefully soon. There's so much madness going on in the world. We just don't have time for any of these stresses. We just don't have time to sulk in it, right? So I'm here to tell you, learn from it all. Take it. Sure, plan A, B, C, all the way through Z if you want to. And sometimes you're not even going to make it to plan B because plan A is going to work out. And sometimes God is going to grab your whole list, throw it in the trash and say, fuck this shit. Here's my plan. And boom. And on that note, guys, this has been another week and another Solita episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. Please come back next week. We have an amazing episode coming up. Actually, we have 2 back-to-back amazing episodes, maybe even 3, with some pretty dope guests. I'm your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we are live on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Make sure to tell a friend to subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to you later. Bye.